Hello friends, schoolsteps.in welcomes you again. In this tutorial, we'll talk about the 2D picker pattern using the GridViewPager. The 2D picker pattern in the Android Wear allows users to navigate and choose from a set of items shown as pages. To implement this pattern, you need to do two things. Number one, you need to add a GridViewPager element to the layout of your activity. The second thing you need to do is to implement an adapter that provides a set of pages by extending the class fragment GridPager adapter. Let's see one running example. Here is the running example. You can see the first page with a background. If I pull it up, you can see that background is changing slowly. And this is the second page with a different background. Further, if you observe, there is a gap between the first page and the second page. Let's move to third page. Let me pull it up and you can see the different background now. And on the third page, if you read, it says each page is created using a card fragment. We'll discuss about the card fragments. And further, if you see right here, there are two dots. That means we can swipe it to the left. Let's do it. And here if you read, it says by default, each card will grow taller to accommodate the extra content. Tall cards can be scrolled through like any scrollable view. The maximum height is controlled by the set expansion factor. So we will use the method set expansion factor. Further, if you read, it says expansion can be disabled completely using the set expansion enable false. And with this, the content will be clipped if it is taller than the one page. So let's go to the next page, which is backgrounds, and then further go to the next page. Now, if you see this page, it says this is an example of a custom fragment. We'll discuss about this as well. And if you move further, this is the last page of the GridViewPager. And if we swipe it from left to right, it will be closed. So before closing it, let's understand one more thing. If you observe, these all are a kind of rows, and there are some rows which contain multiple columns. Like take the example of this. So this particular row contains two columns. So let's understand the GridPager view from the point of view of rows and columns. Here is the first row, technically row 0. And here is the first column inside the first row, and first column is the fragment. Here is the second row, and in the second row we have two columns, and here is the third row, and in the third row we have four columns. Now all the columns are part of a list. You can see the red box. Same is true with the second row and the first row. So the first row contains one list which contains one column. Second row contains one list which contains two columns. Third row contains one list which contains four columns. Further, all the rows are the part of the list. And here the fragment are referring to either to the card fragment or to the custom fragment. Now let's achieve the same in our program. Open Android Studio and create a new project with the name My GridViewPager. Click next, choose Wear and uncheck the phone and tablet for the time being. Click next, next, and click on finish. It will create a project for you. So we will work directly in the activity_main.xml, which is right here. Go to the source of activity main. In the code, let's delete this part and let's define one frame layout. So after we define the frame layout, inside the frame layout, we need to say Android .support.variable.view.GridViewPager. Let's define one ID for this, and let's give the ID as pager. After defining the ID, we need to define the layout width and height. We have defined both width and height as match parent. Let's define one more property, that is keep screen on, and let's define it as true. That's it. Let's close the tag. Now let's go back to the main activity.java and let's delete this piece of code as we are not going to use it. Now right here, after the set content view, we need to retrieve the object of GridViewPager, which we have just created in the layout. So we need to say GridViewPager, and we need to say find view by ID, and here we need to say r.id.pager. Now GridViewPager relies on the window insets to properly handle the layout for the round displays. So we need to have the object of window insets. Let's do it. So we need to say GridViewPager dot set on apply window insets listener, and here we need to pass the object of on apply window insets listener. So we need to say new on apply window insets listener. It will ask us to override the method on apply window insets. So the first thing that we need to do inside this method is, using the object of window insets, we need to figure out if the shape of the variable is round or not. So we need to say boolean round is equal to insets dot is round. The next thing which we need to define is the row margin. If you remember, this is the margin between the two pages. So we need to say int row margin is equal to get resources dot get dimension pixels offset, which is right here, and here we need to say r dot dimen dot page underscore row underscore margin, which is right here. Here page underscore row underscore margin is referring to the tag defined under the dimensions.xml, and dimensions.xml is the one which I have already created under the values folder. In the dimensions.xml, I have defined three more variables. One is the column margin round, and card margin bottom. Now let's go back to the main activity.java, and right here let's define the col margin. We need to say get resources dot get dimension pixel offset, and right here we need to say round question mark r dot dimen dot page column margin round, then a colon, and we need to say r dot dimen dot page column margin. So basically, if the shape is round, which is the boolean defined here, then we will get this value, which is the column margin round, else we will get this value. And if you see in the dimensions.xml, we have defined different values for the round and the rect shape. So 50 for round and 10 for the rect shape. Let's go back to the main activity.java. The next thing which we need to do is, we need to say GridViewPager dot set page margins, and right here we need to pass row margin and col margin. And last but not the least, we need to say GridViewPager dot on apply window insets, which is right here, and here we need to pass insets, and finally we need to return the insets. The next thing which we need to do is, outside this method, we need to say GridViewPager dot set adapter. We need to set one adapter, and here we need to say new myGridPager adapter. We need to pass two parameters. One is this, which is a context, and second one is get fragment manager. Now myGridPager adapter doesn't exist, and we need to create it. Before we create myGridPager adapter, I want to mention that this method is the one which uses the insets to properly handle the layout for the round display. Friends, let's take a break here, and we'll continue from here in our next tutorial. Friends, with this I take your leave. Thank you so much. Please like our page on facebook.com/letsandroid. If you have any query, do write us at info@schoolsteps.in or schoolstepsin@gmail.com. Thank you.